last month, Mabaso was found hanging from his shoelaces in a Cape Town holding cell while police were conducting further investigations. Police watchdog IPiD is probing the circumstances surrounding his death, with new damning evidence revealing that Mabaso's shoelaces were removed and booked into the register before he was placed in the holding cell. Our reporter Gillian Pillay is there covering the story. Gillian, we spoke to you in the morning. How has the proceedings unfolded there?
A very good morning to you, Desiree. Just in a short while from now, we will head back into court, and that judgment in that application to have charges against Fita Khupe withdrawn will then be heard. We will get some sort of verdict. But it's very difficult to say at this stage whether his submissions were strong enough for the court to actually say that, looking at Ernest Mabaso's suicide, as well as that very damning confession that Ernest Mabaso made, in which he said Fita Khupe was the mastermind. It's very difficult to say which way the court will go in its decision making. A lot of the Vlakfontein community members are seated in court ahead of the proceedings, and you can imagine how tense the situation is right now, knowing that what is at stake. But as I said, 11:30, we are meant to get underway with that application and get some sort of sense whether Khupe will have to face the music as the lone accused in this matter, or whether he will walk away from this now that Ernest Mabaso is no longer there.
What's the sense, Gillian? Is he going to be successful in this application? Desiree, he made quite a few submissions last week, saying that he was not in the country when the murders were taking place. He also said that he didn't know Ernest Mabaso, even though they were in contact with one another. From what the prosecution had showed in those cell phone records, he says, he hasn't been in contact with Mabaso. He basically refuted all the claims that Ernest Mabaso had made, that Khupe was present with the raping and the killing of most of the victims in this matter. We do know that the prosecution will have to bring some more substantial or corroborating evidence now that Mabaso is no longer there. We spoke to a legal expert, and they did say that circumstantial could possibly still carry a lot of weight in a case like this, looking at the kinds of damning claims and damning disclosures that Mabaso had made against Khupe, that they knew each other, that he was in the country when those murders took place, that he came back a few days while the other 4 family members were being killed, that Khupe had told Mabaso to rape some of the victims. Quite damning disclosures that Mabaso had made, confessing that Khupe was the mastermind. So at this stage, in the bail stage of proceedings, the prosecution says there is a case to answer, and that the trial leg of the case will be dealt with as further investigations are still conducted, Desiree. So it's difficult to say how it's looking, but definitely a sense of the community really coming out again in great numbers, as they have been during all the proceedings, not wanting this lone accused to get any bail during these proceedings, or to have the charges dropped against him, Desiree. Gillian, you're talking about the community coming through at the beginning of this trial, massive community outrage. What's the sense now? Have the tempers simmered somewhat?
Desiree, I know that last week one of the community members had presented a petition to court with something like 2,000 signatures calling for Khupe not to get bail. And during that particular testimony from that community member, she had explained the high levels of violence and the frustration with cases like this, where accused people are either given bail or the case is withdrawn against them. So I know that the community would be they said they would take the law into their own hands, and that has been the sentiments from this community from the onset that these accused were brought into the dock, Desiree. So I'm sure that while there is a cautious sense but tense sense among community, I know that it will be very hard for them if he
is to walk away from these charges. I know that the court will have to apply its mind with all the submissions that has made, and they'll also look at what is in the interest of the community as well as what is in the interest, in Khupe's interests, his human rights as interest, Desiree. So it's, I know that the community, they were very vocal in the wake of those bodies being discovered, but also in the wake of those arrests. And today, even though there's not a lot of protesting outside, they have come out in great numbers and are in court waiting for this verdict to be handed down.
Gillian Pillay is at the Protea Magistrates Court in Soweto, where the judgment is awaited in the latest in the Vlakfontein murder case, where 7 family members were all decimated at the same time.